Hi, let's talk about Google search tips. Before I do, I'm going to show you more than I'm going to tell you, and that means YouTube. The link for the YouTube for this audio is going to be in the show notes if you go to the GuyerCookReport.podbean.com, and you'll see the notes there, and it'll say the link for this on YouTube is whatever it's going to be, gobbledygook, and then you can see what I'm saying, okay? So now that we've gone through that ordeal, we're going to show you what we've got, okay? So take a look at the YouTube, would you please?
Well, I was asked the other day, how are you going to have a Linux desktop if you're in Windows? Well, you turn like this. There you go. Linux is sitting there waiting, ready to go. So if you've got the ancestor computer, the one you had before now, you might want to think about upgrading it to a Linux 20.3 Linux Mint, the new version. It's a rocker. It's a wrap.
And in the YouTube video, I'm now showing you 21 Google search tips you'll want to learn that was done by Jason Cohen just a few days ago. And it's basically a list in there of different ways you can use Google. Like one of the ways that I use Google is that I can show you better than I can tell you. Just a second. So I pop into google.com and put in my search query, and I put in the Guyer Cook Report. Imagine that. Anyway, the tool that I use most often is I go to Tools, and as soon as I click on Tools, it comes up anytime, and I'll say, no, I want to see it for the past week, just because I want to get current events. So then up comes a recent Podbean post that I have in the Google search engine on a recently done episode of the podcast. Okay, so there you have it. That's one of the tools, one of the tricks I use is go into Tools and then select the time. And if I go to any time, then it goes back to what's good for the neighborhood. Okay, so there you have it. There's some Google search tips, and remember that link to the Google document? I've also got a link in there for the developers blog for Search Central at Google. And this is going to give you some of the latest and greatest. Forget about doing the last week or last year. This is going to be what's happening right now. Like you can see on the dates of these posts here, January 31st, January 21st, okay, recent history. So I hope you've gotten a pearl out of this oyster. And back to the main screen, this is the thumbnail that we'll put onto YouTube, and look for that 21 Google search tips you want to learn. Maybe just do a search for Google search tips. I'm sure that will be in the mix somehow. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day for this episode of the Guyer Cook Report. And do take a look at the rest of that Google document. There's some other links in there I think you're going to like. It's a wrap.